This is your favorite podcaster, Romina, and you just tuned in to RM Podcast FL. Hello, my beautiful people. This is your favorite podcaster, Romina. I hope everybody is having a tremendous and a fabulous day so far. And yes, your day is about to get better because you're about to listen to an awesome episode with Alan Tate. So, Michael, you guys have been on the show 2 times before. We actually had him recently when the whole coronavirus situation hit, when we talked about rebuilding your career during coronavirus, and that is episode 57. So, make sure to check that out. As well as the other one is the episode 37. So 57 and 37, where he talks about his book, The White Shirt, and he actually goes ahead and helps everybody with a strategy of don't ask for a job, ask for advice technique. So that is a very, very good technique, I'll tell you guys. And it actually helps you not only be considered for a job, but it actually helps you as a person as well to see if the job that you thought you wanted, if you really wanted it. We all been at that position at some point. But today's episode, it is different and it is a celebration because Michael is bringing to life his third book, you guys. Roll Up Your Sleeves. And as you can tell from the title of the book, you need to roll up your sleeves and get to work. But we do live in a constant changing world. So that's what the book is focused on, you guys. How to roll up your sleeves by living and leading in a constant changing world. So without any hesitation, I just want to give you guys a little bit of refresher about Michael. He works with successful executives, entrepreneurs, and technical professionals who are seeking a simple action-focused plan to effectively manage a career transition. So I feel like you can relate with this right now. I mean, everything is going on in the world. We definitely need somebody to help us keep a very simple action-focused plan. With over 20 years of experience as a career consultant, Alan Tate knows that busy people want to navigate the murky waters of transition as quickly and effectively as possible. And he would be able to do so by helping you create your one-page plan in just 24 hours, you guys. And I will say I'm a witness of this. It definitely works. Please go ahead and contact Mike at www.michaelalantate.com, you guys, to schedule a call with him. He's actually offering free calls right now for 15 minutes call, so definitely go ahead and do so. But without losing any time, I definitely want to let you guys enjoy this episode and let us know how you like it. Contact Michael at michaelalantate.com, and I'll attach all the information below as well. Enjoy!
So thank you so much, guys, for investing your time to RM Podcast FL. Just like I mentioned on the bio, today's guest speaker is with Alan Tate, which he has been on the show twice before, but we have some exciting news now. So I wanted to welcome you back to RM Podcast FL. Michael, how are you today?
Great, Romina. So good to see you again. This is getting to be a habit.
I know. Well, it's like every time we have you on the show, something big is happening.
Yeah.
Like the first time on the episode 37, we talked about asking for an advice and not a job.
Right.
And I leveraged that a lot myself personally, and it actually benefited me a lot in my career. So did a lot of my friends. But we also had you before the whole situation with Corona was hit, like right as it hit, for people to rebuild their career. And now you have also another news coming out. You have a new book launching out.
Yeah. So what happened was I have a new book called Roll Up Your Sleeves, Leading and Living in a World of Constant Change. This book was actually supposed to come out in November of this year. And my publisher called and said, we need to get this thing out now because the world's changed and people need this information. So that was a good surprise. Kind of put us in a stretch here to get it out. But yeah, it'll be out today. Isn't that crazy?
I know. That's exciting. And I'm not going to spoil the book. I had the pleasure of reading it. And thank you for allowing me to read it prehand. And you guys, I have to say, this book is amazing, especially in the times that we live nowadays with constant change. I mean, just the last 2 months, there's so many changes going on. Like, I cannot even keep a track anymore. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the book. How did the idea came about? Because you have Design a Life That Works, you have the White Shirt book. How
Mhm.
did Roll Up Your Sleeves came about?
Well, the white shirt was about finding your ideal career. And when you find your ideal career, most careers don't stay ideal very long. A change comes. So this book's about that. I chose the name Roll Up Your Sleeves because it's a metaphor for the book itself, but also it's just a catchy title. And we've heard it all our lives. You know, our parents, our bosses, our friends say, well, there's a big change, but roll up your sleeves and get on with life. And we all know that it's not that easy. So roll up your sleeve teaches and explains to people that we all have a unique pace and rhythm that we roll up our sleeves as change happens. So that's kind of what the book's about.
So throughout the book, we have 4 characters, which you show how all of them kind of adapted to the change throughout the storyline.
Right?
Now, what are the steps? For example, if I want to roll up your sleeves, is it mentally I have to prepare myself and then just do it? Or like, what are the right steps for me to roll up my sleeves and get to action?
Yeah. Well, the book helps us understand how to move through emotions of transition. So there's a difference between the main point of the book is there's a difference between change and transition. You hear those used interchangeably all the time, but our definition change is an event, something that happened. Transition are the 3 phases of emotions every person goes through, and those are resisting, where you go through shock and denial, you resist, you get sick, you experience all the depression, those kind of things. Then you start exploring. The second phase is exploring, where you explore new ideas and new thoughts. And then you can maybe go back to resisting. And then you go to committing, which is the third phase, which is when you commit to a new idea. We call it getting in your promised land. And you begin to move forward with new goals, new exciting ideas. And so that's and we offer practical tips of how to do that in the book, some things you can do and understand to get through it. But everyone goes through those 3 phases. And one of the most dangerous things that happens is a change happens, and then someone says, well, I'm over it and I've moved on, I'm committed. That's called the Tarzan swing. You know, we say we're there, but we're not, because at some point in the future, you will go through that shock, that denial, that getting sick, all those things happen. But we all go through it in different ways. But we have to realize everyone goes through transition when a change hits. It's just, when do they do it?
So it's very important the process and the lead time from one step to the other in
Right.
order for you to roll up your sleeves.
Mm-hmm.
But as a leader, what can you do to help somebody transition from
Yeah.
those phases as fast as possible, smoothly and successfully?
Yeah. By asking questions. You can't push people through transition. You have to just guide them through, because they're going to move through at their own weight. But so if somebody's in shock and denial and those kind of things, those at that point you just kind of need to leave them alone. But then when they're in that phase, you ask them a question like, how do you feel like this went? What were you disappointed about? What was good about what happened? So people begin to process their thoughts about that. And then as they move, so you see them kind of moving forward, and they'll get sick and they'll get depressed, but you just keep saying, so tell me what you've learned. So there you're just trying to move them into exploring new ideas. So the next question would be, so what are some ideas you have for yourself or the team as we move forward? What are some new goals you've been thinking about? So you just ask people questions and help them move forward. And we always know when people get close to being committed or rolling up their sleeves all the way, because they begin to be thankful. You ask them, so what are you grateful for now? And they start talking about positive things. And that's the sign that people are moving to that last phase, and their sleeves are rolled up all the way, and they're ready to go forward. Thankfulness is always the key to everything.
So I personally have been through these 3 phases myself multiple times, I would say, because in the 11 years in America, I've experienced myself so many different careers that finally kind of like taking a little bit from each career. I know exactly what I want now, and I'm mastering my craft. But I love how you broke it down, because thinking back at it, it was the denial, the resistance. It was the denial. No, I'm okay. I'm okay. But this doesn't work if you do it yourself. You need somebody to guide you through this. You need a partner to help you through this.
You do. Yeah, there's 10 observations that the four guys make throughout the book about what they learned. And observation number 9 is self-counseling doesn't work. When change happens, you are your worst counselor. It's kind of like from the white shirt. We said find a friend to help you walk through that. But instead, just find someone who will listen to you, who's not trying to fix you, who will just listen to you tell your story, because you just need to kind of talk about how you feel and what happened, and find a friend who can ask some good questions around that. And but if you go it alone, you'll go fast, but you'll probably crash. But if you go together, you'll go far and heal. So that's a main principle in the book, is finding someone. Isolation is not the place to be, and you are not the person to give you advice. So you're right about that. So that's one of the main points in the book, is to, two are better than one, so we can help each other through. So.
And you also, on the book, you have this emotional graph, which change, of course, we are emotionally wired. As much as sometimes we try to find a balance, the great balance between logic and emotions. And I love that graph because as a visual person, I can see, like, I can kind of catch myself where I'm at and what do I need to do. But I wanted to ask you how we can control our own emotions during this high moment, such as a big change, or, for example, just the last 2 months, so many changes, how we can inner control it, even though self-counseling doesn't work. What can we do to control it ourselves at a certain point?
Yeah. Well, everybody has a different personality. So different personalities need to do different things. And as a matter of fact, on the book website, there's a little quiz that tells you about your change management style. And when you take the little quiz, it'll say you're either like one of the 4 characters in the book. You're either like Cyrus or Gage or Bram or one of those guys. And it'll give you specific things you can do based on your approach to change. Like someone like me, what I need to do is I do need to spend more time by myself, but also I would do something like I've started writing more. I've started doing art. I do puzzles, those kind of things. Other people, like Gage in the book, who's a real controlling guy, needs to tell people he doesn't need to go out as much anymore. He needs to stay with himself, but he needs to put together a structure, some kind of project he's doing step by step. So everybody has their own unique personality. And like I said, it only takes you 2 minutes to do the quiz, and you'll find out what you can do personally to help yourself move forward.
And I actually did take the quiz, and I think it was helpful because I'm different and my brother, for example, is different. And this way we can kind of help each other intertwine and kind of know how we can help one another. And the quiz was very simple, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And it's, it's just something free for people to do, and kind of gives you a thought and some real, but it's real practical helps in there. So the other thing is, in the White Shirt book, we talked about career purpose, and that once we find our purpose in our career and our lives, it never changes. So I was talking to a guy the other day, and he was kind of having a tough time. And I said, do you remember when you really figured out when you were, what your career was and what you love to do? He said, yeah, I was walking in an old warehouse, and I met a guy, and he talked to me and asked me to help him with some things. He was an attorney, help him solve some problems. And he said, I began talking to him, and I realized in that moment, this is what I was born to do. So whenever change hits, you need to go back to your purpose, remember what that is, because it doesn't change, and also your values. What are those core values that you live and breathe and drive you? And so that's why, doing a little White Shirt book first, you already have sort of a map there that helps you come back to something that's going to stay constant when change and all this stuff changes all around you, so you can come back and say, that's me. I can stay this way even though the world changes. That's an idea to throw out at you.
And no, I would fully agree with it. As a person that have actually read both of the books, I feel like it's part 1 and part 2, and you learn throughout each process, because growing up, like, I feel like the guys just grew up, found their, they're successful, what they're good at. Are they a thinker, a doer, a talker, like whatever
Yeah.
they were great at. And then based on that, now you grow and you need to see how can you manage yourself, how can you manage your work, your profession throughout this constant changes in the world.
Right. And one other thing that kind of really the secret, if you really want to get through a tough time, one of the principles in the book or observations is helping another person get through their transition is the best way to get through yours. So, sometimes when we get in these states, we're all concentrated on ourselves. And the more you concentrate on just you, the more depressed you get. But you'll find someone probably with a few more troubles than you have, and just go out and help them, and you'll find yourself healing and getting back to yourself a lot quicker than if you try to do it, trying to think it through. Just do something to help somebody, and magic starts to happen.
Is that because you know things in theory, it's just not as easy to self-act on what you know sometimes?
Well, when you serve someone else, you forget about your own troubles. And so that's the point of that is if you're feeling depressed, go help someone else. And it'll just, I think that's just sort of a universal law. If when I know myself, if I look out in the world, there's people who have a lot more things to deal with than I do. That's why during this this situation we're in, you see all these people going out giving food to those who don't have it, getting out and realizing that you really have it gives you a way to start counting your blessings when you start seeing other people who need help more than you do. So that's what if we're helping other people, we forget about our troubles and we get back to who we are pretty quick. That's what we're all made to do.
It's a big circle. You help somebody and somebody helps you because they have, it's a whole big circle. It just keeps going.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Now, so this is a situation that I ran into recently, right?
Okay.
I know, like I mentioned earlier, we're emotionally wired people. And I had a client that I talked to recently that an issue of hers had her so overwhelmed that she forgot about her analytical and her logical skills. And she is very great at it. She is a financial advisor and she's really great at it. And this was kind of like a hard conversation for me to have with her, how to get rid of this emotions because coronavirus situation hit and she just needed to restructure herself.
Mm-hmm.
She was in the resistant, but kind of trying to jump to the committing step. How dangerous is that to skip that exploring step during the phases?
Well, it's a natural thing to do, so I would help her understand that. One of the things I found very helpful, I had mentioned before years ago, I used to work with people who had lost their jobs. That's one of the reasons that helped me write that book, The White Shirt, about finding your career. And I would take this graph that you see in this book. This is this graph I've used forever. And I would bring it out and I would say, these are the things people go through, this visual wave you're looking at here. Where are you right now? And they would, like your friend would probably say, well, I'm kind of in this chaotic, depressed place right there. And then you say, well, so can you remember when you went through shock and when you went through that? Now, do you see these other things that are on here? So somebody as logical as her needs to see something logical. And I do want to emphasize here now, there are states of depression. This book is not a clinical book. It's just practical ideas. Some people get clinically depressed and they need a counselor. And I'm not saying that is not what this book's about. But my recommendation always is, as I talk about it in the book, go to my website, download the little chart and show your friend and say, where are you today? Where were you last week? Where do you think you'll be in the future? So that's would be my thought on that. If somebody, especially if she's an accountant or an analytical person, she needs to see, oh, there's a process. And one of the things is, if a process matters to people, again, they can say, okay, I'm going to feel that way. I'm going to feel like that, and it's okay. That's part of what having that wave of emotions to show people in a graphic way helps them say, okay, I'm feeling like that, but that's the way I'm supposed to feel right now. So, and then, like I said, listen to them and ask them questions about the future. and it helps them start to move forward.
I like that. I like them actually, because that not only it kind of is a visual to where they are in the process, but actually is a lot of accountability towards where do you see yourself.
Yep.
Like knowing the graph, like what was a good highlight and how do we get there? This way looking, I like that. Again, visual person. So my brain is looking at the chart and I'm thinking that is actually a very great example. And I mean, like we're mentioning here, guys, these are some very key fundamental things to cover while living in a constant changing world. I mention this all the time. Technology changes nonstop, which changes jobs and everything. But just the virus situation itself has changed us a lot, has challenged us at the same time.
Yeah.
So we have to build, like Michael was saying, we have to build a right strategy towards leaving and leading during those time frames.
Right. And one of the main kind of the core value in the book came from I was at a hotel about last year one day, and I was thinking about this book and getting these principles together, and I walked down to the lobby, and they had the free breakfast, they have at the hotels. And there was a little chalkboard sitting over there, and it said, "Everyone has unseen battles they are fighting. Be kind." I remember seeing that, and when I read that day, I thought, that's kind of the core of what this book is about, because to help people get through, as a leader, you're trying to help someone get through this, or a friend. It's easy to say, "Why are you feeling that way? You should, you ought, you must," those kind of terrible judgment words we do for people. But to realize that everyone has these unseen battles they're fighting, and to be kind, but also to speak truth. So, and if you show them these tools, they're able to start talking about those battles they're fighting. And once they speak them out, then they become a lot smaller. So your job as a friend or a boss is just to help people speak. It'll have a conversation about transition, because you can't push people through it. You can only help them talk their own way through that. So. Yeah.
And this is also a book that you need to read with a friend as well. Absolutely. So I actually have a friend of mine that is pre-ordered the book. So I'm like, can you just read it? Already it's launching today. Can you just read it so we can talk about this and talk about both of the books?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. We should have thought about that as the other book was the only career book ever designed to be read with a friend. And this one actually is made to, the world's made to be done with a friend, right? Everything is, because that's the way things work. So
it's more enjoyable with a good partnership throughout
Right.
everything. So
Yep.
Now, Michael, your first book, I felt like you were Cyrus.
Yeah.
And this book, would you say you're Cyrus again, or you're a mixture of each character from the characters?
No, every book's about the person that wrote it, people in their lives. All these people that have names are people I've known, and I'm still Cyrus. I'm still that same personality. I'm still, I still wear blue buttons on my shirt, which means I'm a creative storyteller, literary person who likes to design things and likes an environment where I spend a lot of time alone. And I think and I write just like Cyrus did. So yeah, I'll always be Cyrus. Yeah.
And you recently also started a podcast.
Yeah. I started a podcast called Small Time Leaders. Been thinking about this podcast, doing a podcast. People had encouraged me to do a podcast because I was on a bunch of them. And I thought, well, I don't want to do a podcast because all you do is listen to people brag about themselves like I'm doing right now on, on your podcast. And I thought, well, what if I had a podcast where people would come in and tell about other people in their lives that did something that changed them forever. And so I was thinking about small time leaders, and I was having my devotion in the morning, and I always play a song when I do that, a Christian song. And the song went off, and I was thinking about this podcast, asking God, should I do this or not? And the song that came on next out of the blue for no reason whatsoever was "It's a Small World." And I thought, well, that's my song. That's really what this is, that we all have people in our lives that do small things that change us. So that's what my podcast is. It's 10 minutes. It's only 10 minutes. And you hear a story that about from someone, an accomplished person. And Romina's been on it. And she told a story about some people in her lives that made it. So it's really kind of an uplifting 10-minute thing to listen to. If you're kind of down, listen to that and you'll find something that you can identify with, because we've all had those silent heroes that have come behind us and before us and prepared the way and said those little things that made a difference. So and it makes you think about being a small time leader, doing small things to help other people. That's kind of the purpose of the podcast. So thanks for asking about that, Romina.
Absolutely. I actually will be honest. So I had a conference recently where I talked about building long-lasting relationships. And one of the points that I cover was growing through significant emotional events, because one of your episodes was about it. And it actually made me think a lot of how we can grow through events, positive or negative, how we can help each other. And I love that episode.
Right.
I've listened to it all, but I've loved that episode just because it made me think a lot of it. And you guys, you definitely should listen to the episode. It's only 10 minutes, not like our own podcast, because sometimes it's 30 minutes or an hour where we go ahead and talk about a lot more in depth. But this is a really good one. It just touches on like every episode has a different message, which I love that, going through significant emotional events. Honestly, that's one of my top favorites, I would have to say.
Yeah, that was Bill McGrain. His father was a mentor to me, and Bill. Yeah, significant emotional events is if you look at the three letters, it's SEE. It makes you see things in a different way, and so you go from a point of view to a viewing point when you look through the significant emotional events that have occurred in your life, and you have an opportunity to make a decision of seeing things differently. So that's what that little acronym is. I use it a lot in my coaching practice with people to get them to realize they had a choice when they saw this. What are they going to do with it? So yeah, that Bill is amazing. He is just an amazing. Gosh, he's a global leader. He works with leaders all over the world. I was so honored to have Bill McGrain's son, Bill Jr. on. That's who I interviewed that day. So yeah, he's a great guy. I hope you will listen to that one.
Yeah, what I'll do, you guys, is that we're mentioning a lot of cool, awesome details. So I'm going to attach along on the podcast episode, the Roll Up Your Sleeves with Michael. What's the website again? For the Roll Up Your Sleeves book?
rollupsleeves.com.
Perfect. And then we have the podcast. So I'll attach the information for that here as well, you guys. Now the book is out today. This is an exciting day. May 26th. Congratulations.
Thank
now,
you.
I feel like I got to know you a little bit. I don't think this is the last book that you're going to write, is it?
Oh, no, there's another one already about halfway done. Yeah, it's another one in this series. This is a trilogy. I had three books, so there's three that will complete this trilogy. So it's on its way. It'll be out next year, and it has to do with the white shirt as well, sort of like this one did, Roll Up Your Sleeves. So, and that one's going to have something to do with a pocket, and I'll tell you more about that as we get closer to the book title.
I'm excited. So yes, we definitely need to buy both of the books, the white shirt and Roll Up Your Sleeves, and that's why you would be having the whole bundle, you guys.
Yeah.
I'll attach all the information as well. And Michael, where can people get a hold of you if they want to have a quick call with you, or if they have questions and they want to know more about you?
Yeah, the simplest way is to go to my website, which is Michael Alan, ALAN Tate, TATE.com. Michael Alan Tate.com, and you can get in touch with me there. My phone number is listed there as well, and my email address. My phone number is 205-533-0429. But go on there and you can find a place to click and you can set an appointment with me. You can schedule a 15-minute chat with me. It's right there on the website, and love to talk with anyone who would be interested in. I can help you in any way, be glad to.
Awesome. Well, I have to say it's been a pleasure, and it's been amazing having you on the podcast again. And I'm sure we're going to have you on the podcast soon too. I feel like with everything going on right now with constant changes. I mean, whenever the coronavirus hit, you were one of the first people that I thought, how do we rebuild career during those times? Because it's really hard. But I've asked you before, what's your personal definition of success? And we've heard it, but I have a different ending question for you. I want to ask you, what is your personal definition of a successful career?
Yeah, well, it kind of goes back to the story I told you about the young attorney that was out in the back of the barn talking to a farmer who needed some advice on getting out of a legal issue. And as he talked to him, he realized, I was made for this. And when you ever have that kind of feeling, you know you're in the right spot. And and of course, my book tells you that all getting into that career comes from looking inside of you and saying, what are those innate gifts and talents I use that are just like breathing to me? And and for me, that's what it is. I mean, for me personally, is that when I see someone's eyes light up when I talk about finding your career, and they go, all of a sudden they just go, oh my gosh, that is what I've always just naturally done. Nobody ever let me see, because I do. When you do things so well, you don't even notice it. So it's when you can, and it always takes somebody else to tell you that, because what you do best is invisible to you. So find somebody and say, so what do when am I kind of most alive? And people will let you know. They know it, they can see it, but we can't see it ourselves. It's really hard to do that. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. It's kind of confusing, but anyway.
No, it made me think a lot, because that is so true. We can feel it, but sometimes we cannot see ourselves in the mirror. We don't have a mirror in front of ourselves to see where we're most, vividful or most lifeful. And that is so true, to ask your people, closest to you, or people that you deal with constantly, where are you most alive, to, build your successful career. That is very true. Thank you. It just sorry, my mind just started picturing everything. So
yeah. I know it usually comes from a story too. I remember a little guy who had graduated from college I worked with one time. He had a degree in degree in finance, and I talked to him and I said, tell me about growing up, what you like doing. And all he could talk about was building bridges and barns with his grandfather. And I turned to him and I said, you are an engineer with a finance degree. He looked at me and he went, but I've already been through 4 years of this. And I said, but no, you're an engineer. And so he went, got him an internship in an engineering firm, and they put him through school. Now he's actually an engineer running all the solar projects, engineering solar projects for a huge utility company. And, but our careers are in our stories. That's why it's so important to help people talk about those things they love from their past, because it always tells you about what you'll love in the future. So, but remember, as roll up your sleeves is things, that ideal job, that perfect life, that perfect whatever you had will change, because the world will throw you a wicked curveball. So you just have to remember, when that happens, take a breath. Remember, you'll go through these emotions, but you'll get back as long as you hang on to the things that don't change, which is your purpose in life.
Thank you so much, Michael, for sharing that. I love the book. Every time I talk to you, I learn something new. You guys go to rollupsleeves.com to find more information about the book. Go ahead and order the book. And you said it's on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and local stores, right?
Yeah. And, Amazon and Barnes & Noble, all the booksellers, it's out there. And I'd encourage you to check with your local booksellers, because everybody supports your local community all you can. So if you can do that, I would appreciate that as well.
Thank you so much, Michael. And thank you again for being a part of RM Podcast FL. Any last message you have for our audience?
Remember, everyone has unseen battles they are fighting. Be kind. Thank you, Romina.
Thank you.